Morning. Welcome back. Welcome back. I love beginnings. Beginning of the new year. I don't make resolutions necessarily, but I love the beginning. It could be Rosh Hashanah. It could be the Lunar New Year. It could be your birthday. But beginnings, I always find really important. But the whole idea is that beginnings are every day. Every day, you and I wake up. We have 24 hours to live our lives, and we can choose what kind of life we're going to live. How we're going to think, how we're going to act, what we're going to do. And it will determine our character. It'll eventually determine our destiny. So this morning I want to talk to you about something about a spiritual program that I found many years ago. And like it's many of one possible programs you could plug into your life. But when you think about a spiritual program, it could be a program for human development, for developing your emotions, your physical body, your spiritual life, to develop the full human being. What we're calling it a spiritual program. Many years ago, it's actually in graduate school, over 30 years ago, a long time ago, early 80s, my mother-in-law, who was an artist, a potter, a Quaker, very thoughtful, she was at a spiritual retreat for people who make pottery in England, and she brought back 2 books for me that transformed my life. I was in graduate school studying theology to be a minister, and I was reading all this heavy-duty German theologians, systematic theology, history of the Christian doctrine, all this stuff, really dry and difficult. She brought back these 2 books. One's called The Miracle of Mindfulness by the monk I talk about all the time, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen monk, and who's been teaching around the world for the last 60 years. He's called The Other Dalai Lama. And the second one was a book that is worth more than gold to me. It's The Monks of the Ramakrishna Order. Now, Ramakrishna and his most prominent disciple, Vivekananda, in the late 19th century, late 20th century, had a huge impact on shaping Mahatma Gandhi. And so those are 2 classics. So I devoured them while I'm reading this other heavy-duty European theology stuff. And I immediately went to the bookstore to get another book, and I found a book on meditation by another person that I wanted to talk about this morning, Eknath Easwaran. And he's also from India. He's from southern Kerala, that beautiful province down in the southwestern corner of India, where a lot of brilliant people come from. And he came to the United States on a Fulbright scholarship, received his PhD back in the 1950s, went on to teach at the University of California at Berkeley for the next 40, 50 years. He was a Shakespearean scholar, English literature professor, but what he's most known for is all the spiritual books he's written in all the different traditions. He's written well over 30 or 40 books, translated into 25 different languages. And also in Northern California, he started the Blue Mountain Meditation Center, and he taught the first 4-credit course in meditation in 1961 at Berkeley, way before most Americans knew anything about it. And they got 2 credits, and it's but he's gone on to write a number of books, and he's really prominent. So I wanted to talk about his 8-point program this morning. So here we start off, though, with the Rig Veda, one of the oldest. He's at least as old as the Torah. We think, bless you. Think of the Torah, and we think of the Rig Veda. And here, this is a classic statement. Truth is one. Sages call it by various names, many different names. Just like we enter this room here, there are many doors to enter this room. There are many pathways to enter the truth. We look at truth through scientific lenses, through that scientific empirical inquiry. We look at truth through poetry, through the arts, through music, through many different ways, through not only through the rational, logical mind. We look at truth through intuition, through emotion. So there are many lenses, and there are many spiritual paths, and this is only one. So the next slide is just is meditation. Now, meditation can become huge in your lifetime. You're growing up with it. But when it was just starting out, when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, a lot of Americans were getting into meditation. And it was a little bit strange to some people, like my father, who had a flat-top crew cut, and was in, Army and stuff and all that. But a lot of people were getting into it. Now it's become really popular, and it's really a lot of the influences from yogis from India, Zen Buddhists and Buddhist monks from Tibet, from Southeast Asia, from Japan, China, Korea, who've come to the United States. But today it's also entered into the medical community. Athletes are meditating. People are studying meditation. I could give you a number of studies. For instance, one at Harvard and the University of Siena in Italy. They have an 8-week program, and they have your sample group, your test group, your control group, and your test group. And And they find after just 8 weeks of meditating, half an hour a day, that they do neural scans. And they find that the brain chemistry, brain changes. The front cortex, a certain gray matter increases, and the more primitive parts of the brain, the matter decreases. And there's a calming, there's a peacefulness, there's an ability to think more clearly, cognitive, and attention spans expand. So there's a lot of research, and all over the country. I was at the University of San Diego not too long ago at a conference on mindfulness. It wasn't religious people like me. It was all neuroscientists, psychologists, and psychiatrists studying the effects of mindfulness meditation on the brain, how it changes. We can change. But let me just give you a little story about meditation, why I think it's really important. It's just very simple, and just, there are many different ways, but just that breathing, being in touch with yourself right now, just following your breath. Thich Nhat Hanh, this monk I always talk about, he founded a monastery in the early 80s in southern France. And it was right after the Vietnam War and the problems in Southeast Asia and Cambodia. And they were settling refugees from all of these countries, children who'd lost their parents. And so there were periodically people living in the monastery. And there was a cute little girl named Tan Tui, a little 5-year-old, who called Thich Nhat Hanh, this Buddhist monk, Uncle Monk. And so she's outside playing one day. And she's out all sweaty and hot. And she comes in, Uncle Monk, I'd like something to drink. He goes into the refrigerator, really calm, like a Buddhist monk, and he pours into a clear glass this fresh apple juice. Because the monastery, they have plum trees, apple trees, and the money they make, they help resettle refugees. So he had fresh apples. Naturally, he gives the glass to her. Tantui looks at it and sees all this pulp swirling around. And she goes, yuck, I don't want that. She rushes out the door, playing for another half an hour, all sweaty and thirsty. She comes in, Uncle Monk, I'm thirsty, can I have something to drink? He goes and takes the same glass that had been sitting on the windowsill, and he gives it to her, and she drinks it down. It's crystal clear. It was so delicious. Where's the other glass, Uncle Monk? He says, that's the same glass. It's meditating. It's sitting, I put it on the windowsill and meditated, and all the pulp just sank to the bottom. Well, he uses that as a metaphor, because that's our lives. It's definitely our lives at Taft. It's definitely our lives anywhere in the world today. We are rushing around. We are not really in our bodies. We're in every different place, in the future, in the past. We have worries, concerns, dreams, and we're swimming around. This is pulp just all around in our lives. But just a simple act of sitting for 20 minutes, a half an hour in the morning or in the evening, or both, things settle down to the bottom. And you are able to see and react to life more clearly. It's just, you have to try it. You can't talk about it, you can't really read about it, you just have to experience it. So meditation is caught on, and if you're an athlete, you want to read Phil Jackson's book, Sacred Hoops. He's got another one. He does things on meditation. And I met the shortstop for the Kansas City Royals a few years ago, who's 1985 World Championship. He's been doing meditation for years with athletes in all the sports. And again, in the medical community and in academics, every college you go to, and guaranteed there will be a meditation center there. You'll find it's incredibly helpful and refreshing. Second one in his spiritual program is repetition of a mantra. And I know you're thinking mantra, that's a weird word, I've heard it before. It's a Sanskrit word. What mantra means, loosely, man is mind, tree is to go across. It's to take you across the sea of the mind. Now, I used to live on Hawaii, go up to the North Shore, watch the big wave surfers. In the winter, the ocean is wild. I would never go out and try that. But in the summertime, believe it or not, on the North Shore, it is like glass. There's no surfing. It's just crystal clear. So that's our mind. Our mind is really turbulent one day. Another day, it's really stormy. Sometimes it's in between. And what a mantra does, which is a sacred word or phrase, it's like a raft. It takes you across the sea of the mind. You think in Judaism you have Baruch atah Adonai, blessed art thou, O Lord. In Buddhism, the classic one, when you see the monks who come here and do the peace mandala, Om Mani Padme Hum, they're walking around, they got their beads all day long. Om Mani Padme Hum, bow to the jewel in the lotus of my heart. You have Allahu Akbar, could be one in Islam or in Christianity, even in southern India, where they had Christian churches been around for 2,000 years. Sometimes they put the prefix Om, the primordial sound of the universe, in front of Jesu Christus, so Om Jesu Christu, the Christians. So there are many, but you don't have to use one of those sacred ones, because people meditate who aren't religious or even spiritual and find benefits. But the idea is that every one of you has a mantra. You have a mantra. You have something in your mind that you repeat to yourself over and over again. And usually as the mind tends, you read a lot about psychology and people who study mindfulness, we tend toward negativity. We tend toward, so things about, I can't do it. Oh, that person said to me, I'm not good enough at this. And we spin it around in our head. We create a narrative. It's just kind of weighs us down. Literally has an effect, a thought that we dwell on, bless you, has an effect on our physiological, our body and our emotions. And they studied this. Affects the immune system, affects blood pressure, affects the heart, all kinds of things. So you have a mantra, and a lot of the mantras come from the advertising industry. I'm a big NFL fan. I love college football. I can't miss football games. But boy, it's hard to watch them with all the barrage of advertising. Got to sell you this stuff. It gets inside your head. What do they want to do? What are there? 4 things. Come on, and you watch an NFL, you watch a college. You got pickup trucks. You got Bud Light. What's the other one? You got Viagra. Is this what guys are about? There's another one too in there, but is this it? And it gets inside your head. The advertising industry long ago has colonized all of our minds. It used to be billboards and things, all kinds of images around us. They get inside of us. They know it works, just like a mantra. It works. A mantra can draw you closer to the divine within, your Buddha nature, your essence. These things can make you want to buy things. You got to have this, you got to have that, because that's what we need to have a meaningful life. So how do we get out of that advertising? I can't. Really hard to listen to any commercial radio or TV. So, what is your mantra? Think about it. Mine is, sometimes I use even a prayer when I'm sitting after, as I'm closing my quiet time. St. Francis' prayer, "O Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Grant, O divine master, that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. To be understood is to understand. To be loved is to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying. Dying actually to our smaller, constricted, ego-prisoned selves that we are born to eternal life. And the eternal life, the eternal now, is in this moment. Slow down. Like that turtle. Turtles know how to meditate. They pull their legs in. I'm kind of like a wild kingdom guy. I love animals and spending time in the woods. And turtles, they just draw in. And they go into their shell when this is kind of a minute. But slow down. Turtles just take their time. The turtle beat the hare in the race. But really, where are we rushing to in this world? To our death? The future, when I went over to visit family. My mother's family's from Italy. I went over to visit Italy. I've been over there a few times. Had a church over there a few years ago, near the beautiful, looking over the Vatican. And the Italians, they're crazy. Yeah, I know, because I have half my family's Italian. They're nuts, but they know how to live life. Life is slower. A lot of Europe's like that. They say Europeans work to live. We live to work. I think that's really true of America. And we're working more hours today than we've ever worked in our life, and we're working faster. They talked about stress in the 1980s, in Time magazine, 1983, a guy screaming. Stress, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers, we didn't have any of this stuff, I don't know, but now we're doing as much work in a day as we did in a week or a month back then. It's gotten intense, so we're rushing. But when you rush, what happens? You make mistakes. Things happen a lot, and people think, well, the slower people, taking your time, being mindful, don't accomplish as much. Not true. Eknath Deshwarna, University professor at Berkeley, writing books, lecturing, teaching, start a meditation center, a publishing press. Thich Nhat Hanh's written over 100 books, speaks eight languages. But there's something about that you can accomplish it all at a different pace of life. And so we really, and it also has many, many physiological effects on us by rushing all the time. Mindfulness is the buzzword we hear all the time. What is mindfulness? John Kabat-Zinn, read some books by John Kabat-Zinn. He actually was a molecular biologist, PhD at MIT. In the mid-1960s, when he was an undergraduate student, a Zen monk came to speak at MIT. 5 people went, that's all. It changed his mind. He realized there's another way of living. There's more to life than just thinking. There's something, a human faculty called awareness. And awareness is not thinking. Being aware of your thoughts. Mindfulness is awareness of thoughts as they arise in the mind. Being intentionally aware, non-judgmentally to what's going on in your mind. If you stop right now, you're aware of your surroundings, you're in your body, your mind, you're sensing everything, and you stop, and if I say follow your breath for just 3 in breaths and out breaths, slowly, you'll notice your mind probably is going, when's Mr. Ganung going to finish? I got to get my coffee, my tea. I got this, is she going to go to the formal with me? Or he, all these things are rushing through your mind. All issues, something that happened over the break. Oh, I wish I was back where I was. It was an incredible time. Oh, I can't remember what that guy did to me. I'm going to get him back. All these things are in your head. And the thing is to not non-judgmentally look at them. It means non-judgmentally look at the way you and I constantly judge. We're constantly judging because that's a human state of mind. So be non-judgmental. Be compassionate toward yourself as you're looking at your mind, judging. We're filled with opinions. We're filled with likes, dislikes of people, of things, events. We're bored. These are all thinking things. Awareness is this bigger thing that encompasses thought. And you're aware. When you're aware, when you can slow down and see your thoughts coming, you're able to react differently. Maybe because usually, sometimes I get angry, don't think about it, and you want to slam somebody, you want to do something, you want to say something. I wish I didn't say it. Well, but if you're mindfully aware, over time, you can't always prevent this because this is the human, you can at least be a little bit aware. What's happening in my mind? And it's very therapeutic. It's very, very refreshing. Training the senses. Okay, there's a great story in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a classic Hindu text. Some of you may know it, the Song of the Lord. But in there you have Krishna as God speaking to Arjuna, the chariot driver. So he's in a chariot, this warrior, Arjuna. And the chariot represents the body. And then there are 5 horses pulling the chariot. The horses represent the 5 senses, and the reins represent the mind. So you're in the body, you have your mind, and you have your senses. If your mind is not in control of your senses, in that chariot situation, the horses are going to be running wild. You're going to crash into a tree, go over a cliff, whatever's going to happen. You're not going to get to where you need to get. But if the mind is in control of those senses, you're going to be able to accomplish your goals. And what are the senses? It's just of course we think about things, food, drink, smoking, chewing, tobacco, whatever we're doing. We don't have a moral authority outside of us saying, don't do this, don't do that. Although we have rules at school, and we have laws in society, and you suffer the consequences when you break them. But in general, it's you. Take a look at your life. What are you consuming? Not just, I'm the food, drink, alcohol, and that sort of thing, but is it helpful to the body? But think about all the things we listen to, the music and the words. What kind of music are we listening to? You think about video games. I know a lot of you think playing these violent video games that are just all over the place don't affect you psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. You're wrong. I don't think you find a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a spiritual teacher anywhere would say it doesn't have an impact on you. Everything has an impact on you. As my Old Testament professor in college said, you become, I never forget this, he taught me so many things, he was so brilliant, but you become what you spend your time with in life. And over time, you become that. A bucket fills drop by drop. You become it in time. So what are you spending your time with? What are you taking in through all of the sense? Something to think about. Putting others first. What is our motto? It comes from Jesus, really. Jesus is the symbol of his life, the suffering servant. To serve and not be served. Think about, the reason serve. Expand our circle of caring. Why should it be just your little friends and those people over there who are the enemy? Those people, those people, they dress like that, they're from over there. Why not expand your circle of compassion to be inclusive of everyone, not just friends, family. everyone, not just the country. Pablo Casals says, you know, love of one country is fine, but why stop at the border? Let's expand it to the world. So, and the reason for this is because we're all interconnected. You and I, we're part of one another. We are literally are part of, even Einstein, the scientist, said, we are all part of the universe. A limited part in time and space, but it's an optical delusion. It's an optical delusion that you and I are separate. So expand your circle of caring. We literally are part of one another. We can solve so many problems if we saw the other as part of us. And spiritual companionship or fellowship is really important. Think about, for you, you know, a lot of you don't go to, only about going to church, temple, or mosque, or what's your circle of friends, and what are you all about? What do you talk about? How do you use words? How do you say about other people? You know, you get sucked into things like gossip. Really destructive, mostly to you more than the other person you're talking about. It's corrosive. Surround yourself with people that are uplifting, that are nourishing you. That's what a spiritual community is about. As imperfect as they are, that's why I want to start something here that grow out of the meditation group I do on Thursday nights, the Taft community of mindful living, the Taft Sangha, that the Buddhists call Sangha, is like a congregation, where we can gather, you can meditate, you can read a little spiritual passage, talk about elevating things, the human spirit. Because society and media has given us such a low image of what a human being could be. And we're bombarded by it every morning. We're instilled with fear every morning on the TV. From Ebola, to terrorists, to child molesters, to the weather, whatever it is, go out in the world and be afraid. Complete opposite of what meditation's about. To get into, find that serenity within. The only way you and I are going to change the world and make it a better place is transforming ourselves from within. Everyone has work to do, becoming something peaceful in your life. And the last one, you guys have been great. I know you got to go soon. Spiritual reading. Find some elevating, inspirational books to read. You know, I know you're reading, I hope you read a lot. Fiction, nonfiction, history, whatever, all important. I read all kinds of things, but it's good, and I have a lot of resources. I have hundreds of spiritual books, but little passages you read a little bit here, a little nugget. Just like, you know, eating some dessert, something you really like. It's nourishing to the mind and soul. You read it, and you go to bed with it, and you wake up feeling different when you're thinking about something. Rather than watching some wild, you know, really violent movie, test it yourself. See how you feel in the morning after watching something violent or playing a violent video game, and then waking up, as opposed to doing a little meditation, reading something elevating that can really help you on your journey. Now, all these 8 points are just ideas from one spiritual program, but there are many paths, as I said, there are many paths to truth. There are many ways, you know, to explore it, but it's really not a religious thing. It's about your life. You know, what makes your life richer, more beautiful? What brings us together as a human community here at Taft? What can help solve some of the problems we have in the world today? Thanks a lot. Have a great day. God bless.